Welcome to Phoenix Comic Fest 2018. He's Azog, he's Crixus, he's Deathstroke, he's Manu Bennett. Please give him a warm, warm welcome.
It's like we're hanging at a bar. Hi,
I'm
guys.
sorry, I don't have anything good like that.
Fantastic, thank you. Thank you.
So we do have people in line. I'm going to start you out with a real quick one now.
Sure.
Quick question. So you have worked with several WWE stars.
Yeah, initially in my career I did a film. Oh, thank you, darling. And it's a Pepsi. Just saying. Yeah. So early in my career, I did a film with the WWE. It was like one of the first things I ever landed. I was so excited, you know. I landed a film, and I was living in Australia at the time, and it was with John Cena, and it was called The Marine, and I was just an actor in Australia, and I went into a casting and kind of tough guy kind of thing, and whatnot. And I think they were looking for a character called Bennett. And I thought, well, I've got to be able to get that role. It was funny, when I walked down these stairs and this guy went, Bennett. And I was like, are we still acting?
So who did you prefer working with, John Cena or Stone Cold?
Both of them were, both of them were very, obviously very strong men, and John Cena, quite a young character, quite a vibrant young man, very, very giving, very, he was fun. He would always do these little raps in the van when we were sort of driving to set and be the life of the party. Stone Cold was really, it was funny because, probably with both of them, when you go into the public, Stone Cold was more one of those traditional wrestlers, whenever he was walking around in the public, he'd be sort of like, he'd be up, 7 foot tall, and kind of, just kind of, And then when you're in public with him, he was like, oh, what's my snake impersonation? and he was, we'd be eating breakfast at the hotel and like some little waitress would come down and be like, shaking, and he'd go, oh, hi, oh, I'm Stone Cold. He was just the complete opposite, when he wasn't in the big public eye, having to be the wrestler. And very, very much I think he might be from Texas or something like that. He was very much a gentleman, so everything was kind of like sir and ma'am and all those, wonderful expressions from the South, from all that area, that kind of gentry stuff. So yeah, he was lovely. But then you get into a scene with him, and I remember in one scene with John Cena, we're in the middle of the scene and we're fighting each other, and we're whacking, and suddenly he threw his punch and he hit me right in the face. And I got punched, I got decked by John Cena, like right in the jaw. I remember seeing the stars and everything, and at the time I had to kind of it was funny because he sort of punched me, and it hit me from this side, and I went flying, and I remember landing on the ground going like, oh my Lord, I just got punched in the face by John Cena. And the cameraman was like on the ground, kind of like filming from there, and I remember going like, oh, this is going to look really good. It's going to look like I got knocked out, I ended up, doing this fight scene, with John Cena, getting punched in the face. And then at the same time, we were doing this other sort of, exchange, and he was using his forearm to block like this, and I was coming in with a left hand sort of blow, and he was blocking onto my forearm here, and this part of my arm got sorer and sorer as we were doing the scene. They kept on doing it over and over again, and suddenly I noticed it was starting to turn purple. And then it went rock hard, like purple and rock hard, and it was hemorrhaging basically. It was bleeding inside my forearm, because his move was going like this, and the bone on his forearm, on his wrist, was hitting the soft flesh of my forearm really hard. And it swelled up to a point where they sent me to a hospital. And I had to go and the doctors said, well, you have, you know, a trauma on your forearm now. You know, you've got this trauma it's bleeding, internal bleeding, you know, and you shouldn't do any more fighting, which of course I couldn't not fight. I was in the scene, you know, movie with John Cena. So, you know, I had to go back on set, and I just kept on going, you know, and the producers said, you know, we've heard from the doctors, and I said, no, let's just keep going, you know. And then I ended up on the film with Stone Cold Steve Austin, right? It's called The Condemned. And we were doing this one scene on this volcanic island, and I was really jacked. I really worked out hard for this particular film and felt really strong. And I was running up. I was this guy called Paco. I was like this Mexican. Did anybody see The Condemned? Yeah, it was like a bunch of, you know, guys get thrown on an island, and they're all ex-criminals, and for a live pay-per-view show where they all have to run around the island and kill themselves. Last man standing is the winner, right? And so I'm playing this guy called Paco, who's there with his, you know, I'm there with my Mexican girlfriend, you know, and we're running around, and I had to say some line like, "Con el puño te voy a matar," which means with my fist I'm going to crush your skull or something. But anyway, so I'm running up the edge of this island that was volcanic rock, and it was really, you know, it was really quite difficult to get a footing on it. And I was sort of like, you know, having to be really aware of the ground as I ran up. And as I came around a rock, Stone Cold Steven pops out, right? Old Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm going to go back a little bit. I remember the time that I actually landed this role. I was at my sister's house painting the walls. I was painting her house, and my two nephews were playing WWE wrestling on a video game, and one of them was actually playing Stone Cold Steve Austin. And my phone rang, and I'm painting this wall, and I answered, and I went, "Hey," and it was like my agent. She said, Manu, we've got some great news. You landed that movie, The Condemned, with Stone Cold Steve Austin. I was like, serious? Oh, awesome. And I got down, I'm like, and they're going, "Oh, what's up, uncle? Hey, what's up?" I said, "I landed this movie with, the guy you're playing there, Stone Cold Steve Austin." And my nephew's like, "Oh, rubbish, uncle." I'm like, "No, seriously." It's a crazy story. And then these nephews, I took them up with me because they were so into the whole idea of Stone Cold. I took them up. We all drove in a car from like New South Wales to Queensland. It was like going from here to Chicago or something in a car, 15 hours drive or something. And all the way in the car, my nephews were going, "Oh man, when I meet Stone Cold Steve Austin, I'm going to be like, oh, cheers, Stone Cold. How you doing, man? Like, I'm his nephew. And I play you in the video games." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah." So, anyway, we got to the set. And I took my two nephews on. And Stone Cold gets up, and I'm like, he's Stone Cold Steve. These are my two nephews. And he got up, and he was standing there, and they're like... And I said, "Come on, yeah." And stand there like walking away. I said, "What happened to what you? I thought you were going to say, hey, Stone Cold, man, let's go out." And they're like, "Oh, yeah, uncle." Yeah. So funny, kids. But anyway, so I'm running up this volcanic island, right? And this rock is there, and Stone Cold Steve Austin jumps out, right? And in this particular moment that he jumps out, I'm meant to exchange this big, I'm going to throw this big right across, you know, and he's going to go back and dodge it. And I'm like, and I said to the director, "You know what, as I'm running up here, I haven't really got a good footing here." And he was going, "Yeah, it's okay. When you come around, you've got to throw a big swing, you know, like just really throw it at him, you know, and it's got to look really big, you know." And I said, "Okay, well, you know, I'm not really so sure about how safe this is." So I ran up, and I'm coming up, and out jump Stone Cold Steve Austin, and I go, woof. And I loaded on his foot, and I went bang. And they said, oh, that didn't work. It was too far. You were too far out this way. We could see the gap between his head and your fist, so it didn't sell. You gotta do it again. You gotta get closer. You gotta throw your punch closer to Stone Cold Steve Austin's face. I'm like, I don't know about this. It's probably getting just a little bit too uncomfortable, guys. Well, they're like, oh no, Steve will get out of the way, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm saying, well, Richard, you know, it was the stunt guy. I said, no. So just throw it, just load it up. So I can't run on a volcanic island, here comes the rock. Out jumps Stone Cold Steve Austin, bang! And I just felt my fist drive into the side of his face. I'm like John Cena. I get Manu, Bennett, there's 2 direct hits. It's like, and I went bang. And he was just like, he went down. And everyone's like, whoa, Stone Cold. It's like everyone comes in, it's like, you know. And I'm like, ah, oh, Richard, I told you, man. and you know, it's like, if you watch the extras at the end of that video, and I'm going to stand testament to this, right? The stunt coordinator really has the audacity to say that there was an actor who was a little bit inexperienced, hit Stone Cold. I watched this thing on the video and I'm like, oh, bullshit. Right? But no, seriously, like Stone Cold had a black eye, as black as he could possibly get, for the whole first week of that film. And, you know, I mean, it was terrible. It was terrible. You know, I mean, I can imagine, you know, it's his film, you know, the first big film he's getting through WWE. It's time to step up. And he was having to wear sunglasses everywhere. And the scene where, you know how everyone jumped out of the helicopter into the water and came out of the water, you know, woo. You know, it's like this moment went slow motion. Baywatch. Who can I kill? Oh, if you watch Stone Cold's scene, you'll see it. You can see the makeup's already starting to wash off because he's been in the waves. You know, when he's coming in, it's like, I think he's blinking because the makeup's going in his eyes. Want to see my steak? But you know, I mean, it was interesting. You know, it was so interesting to be. That was sort of the beginning of serious work. You know, for me, I was in Australia. It was before Spartacus, and yeah, thank you. But you know, it was actually another part of that story was that because I'd done one movie with the WWE, right? For some reason, my agent at the time thought, well, he's already done one, and the second one, the Condemned, was coming out, right? And I'd done The Marine, and I was at the gym, and a Russian friend of mine, who was an actor as well, he was like, Manu, you know, like, have you heard about this new movie, the Condemned? I'm going for the audition tomorrow, you know? And I said, really? He said, yeah, didn't you hear about this? They're looking for all kinds of nationalities. It's like people on an island, they'll kill each other. I'm like, really? No, I haven't heard about this. And so I rang up my agent and I said, hey, this other W, and they said, you've already done one. Oh yeah, exactly. You know, like, you know, at least they should, you know, I've done one, they like my acting, and maybe they'll. So then she sent me in for the audition, you know. And you know, I had to put on this, you know, Mexican accent, and then I grew my hair longer and I had a beard and everything, so I looked different from the first movie. But funnily enough, you know, it was actually a movie that I wouldn't have even got it. This Russian guy had to walk out of the bathroom and said, hey, Manu, you know. So yeah, funny how life has its twists.
So we do have some people in the audience.
Oh, yeah,
and
sure.
I thought I would just throw it out. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure, I'm gonna drink my Pepsi Cola. Deathstroke drinks Pepsi Cola. Rebel.
Yeah, go ahead.
Welcome back to Phoenix.
Thank you.
I was very happy to find out you got casted in the Hobbit series, and out of every place in the world, I would love to go to New Zealand, and so I was wondering what it was like to be able to film there for such a long time.
Well, you know, the thing is, I did motion capture. Azog was not, there was a guy originally who did Azog in the film, right? He was a 7-foot guy, and they put him in a suit and everything. And after 3 years of filming, you know, Peter got into the editing suite 3 months before the premiere, and he decided that he just wasn't happy with the performance of this 7-foot guy in the suit. You know, I mean. If you remember, a good friend of mine, Lawrence McCorday, wonderful actor, wonderful Maori actor. He played the lead orc in Lord of the Rings, you know. But whenever a shot came to Lawrence, you know, it was kind of like because of the prosthetics. Prosthetics are good, you know, and you can get good makeup, but you know, whether you can get the finer details of a character was the question I guess Peter was asking himself. Because, you know, like in Lord of the Rings, if you went to an orc's face, it was like, so you can imagine the original, you know, like the guy playing the 7-foot guy, you know, first of all, he would have been weighed down by all of this. He would have been so tired because he would have been 9 hours in the makeup chair from 1 a.m. to probably shoot time. And then come out in this big outfit going like, I over to the knock. Couldn't knock. There's just these limitations to prosthetics, right? So I mean, you know, like imagine if they'd only painted. Imagine if they'd put Andy Serkis in a prosthetic outfit, okay, and Gollum. Right?
Yeah.
So imagine if he'd had just a rubber mask on and stuff like that, and he was going like, oh, my precious, you know. Like, he would have come in on his face, and it wouldn't have been, you know, the one thing that was really amazing about Gollum was those moments where he just did those slightest smirks, you know, and you went into his eyes, and it was kind of like, you know, is he thinking something evil? You know he is, but it's only so subtle, you know. A guy that's in a rubber mask and that sort of stuff, you know, you just can't get that kind of fine detail in a creature. And that's the good thing about motion capture, you know, is that you know you can go in and you can make all of those expressions work really quite seamlessly. I mean, so I think that some motion capture characters have achieved it well. I think Peter with Gollum and with Azog got it right. And everyone at the Park Road Studios and all those New Zealand practitioners and all these guys, they did such a wonderful job. But you know, basically, just have that again. 7-foot guy does it right. Gets to the end of the movie. Peter Jackson sitting in the editing suite. Nope. Let's find an actor to do it in motion capture. I was doing Spartacus. He was a fan of Spartacus. I remember when I arrived at the studios, I sort of, you know, got there and, you know, we're all getting ready and I'm putting on this stupid little tight suit. And I'm going, how am I going to play a giant orc in this body sock? You know, I felt like such an idiot. Honestly, one of the biggest hurdles I had creating Azog was the way that I looked in this body sock. I felt like I was at some weird German sex party. Yeah, I'm Azog, man. Who are you now? And so, you know, it was I'm standing there really awkward, and suddenly this voice over the microphone says, Peter Jackson will be in the building in 10 minutes. And so everyone started moving. It was like, oh, okay, you look like you're not doing, okay, nobody can look like they're not doing anything, because Peter was coming, right? It was like a military drill in Winston Churchill. Somebody's about to walk in, you know, I was like, so, you know, and then it was funny because every minute they would say, 9 minutes until Peter Jackson will be in the building. And everyone's hearts are just pumping. And then they go, Peter Jackson is in the building. And everyone's just waiting and there's this door that goes,
and in walks a Hobbit. I mean, Peter Jackson doesn't wear shoes. Like his shirt's undone, hairy chest, all this sort of stuff, long sort of messy hair. And he just walks in, he's like, hey, I love you on Spartacus. Sort of not really making any, he's not a, you know, he's such an interesting character, but he commands power and he's an incredible artist, you know, and that comes out constantly. But really, really such a different personality, you know, really, really interesting man. And, you know, and then he says to me, okay, Manu, you know, you're going to sit on this thing over here. And these guys are going to move it around. And I'm like, oh, okay. What do I do? I guess in this thing. And there's these two guys on either side moving it, so I'm like, moving like this, right? And he goes, okay, that's your wag. Yeah, what is a wag? He said, no, it's this big giant wolf that you're going to be riding during the 3 films. You know, you'll be riding this thing called a wag. This is the beginning of the creative process of doing motion capture. Is that nothing's there. Nothing. You've really got to work on it. As an actor, you're required to do so much in motion capture. You wouldn't believe it. It's kind of like completely out-of-body experience. Andy Serkis said it's another dimension that's added on to the expectations of an actor, and it is. And Peter goes, okay, so we're going to film the last scene of the movie first. Great. I've worked all the way through this. Here we go. And he goes, okay, there's a big tree in front of you. Who remembers the first film of The Hobbit? Was it, remember the last scene when they're all up the tree? Can you imagine I'm sitting on this thing? And I've never seen the movie, of course, because this hasn't happened yet. Oh. Yes, that's exactly what's going on. My wag is moving. Good stuff. There's going to be a point to be made about this, trust me. Anyway, so I'm sitting there and Peter's like, okay, so there's a big tree in front of you. All your other orcs are riding in on their wags beside you. Gandalf has started lighting pine cones and they're throwing them down like onto the ground and all the wags are going crazy now. The wags are going crazy. You can move it now. Where's the lighting go when you need it? Anyway, so you're sitting there and there's this idea that you're in this environment and you're on this big wolf and none of it's there. None of it. I mean, where the hell is Gandalf lighting pine cones and throwing them down onto the ground and we're all getting crazy and there's no other orcs around me and the expectation to fill this scene with drama was so far-fetched even for like an experienced actor. Right? I was kind of like, whoa, okay, yeah. Oh. And he goes, okay, now Thorin is looking at you. And he's walking down the tree now. He's drawing his blade and you're going to have a fight. And I don't know if you remember in the film, there's a moment where Arzul goes, this is what it looked like. Except I was wearing a really ridiculous outfit. Yeah. Anyway, so I said to Peter, I said, wait up, Pete, just 1 second. Okay, so this is my wag. This is like a giant wolf that Arzul owns. And he said, yeah. And I said, how many times am I going to ride it in all 3 films? And he said, you're probably going to ride it, you know, several times in each film. And I said, okay, do I have a relationship with it? And he was like, what do you mean? And I said, well, you know, is it like a Lone Ranger and Silver? You know, do I whistle when it comes, or I don't know, like whatever. And he said, well, I don't know, like I mean, how would you incorporate that, you know, kind of thing, you know? And I said, well, you know, like my wrist, my hand's been cut off, right? And, you know, Arzul got his hand cut off, and he had a pitchfork, like a big pitchfork like this. And I said, well, all dogs like their necks getting scratched, right? Every dog likes to get scratched. Right? So in this scene, right, which was, the lines were, it was like this one. I said, when I deliver that, it says that I deliver it to the orcs that are around me, like, oh, we're the bad guys, let's screw these guys up. Right? And so I said to Peter, can I make this an intimate scene? Can I change the tone of it? And that way the orc will have something normal for an orc. So, okay, and if I say to my warg, if I tell my warg, because the lines mean, can you smell their fear? So if I say it to my warg, it means it's lunchtime. Right, but I'm going to say it normally. I'm like Jaws. This is the thing. I watched Jaws the night before I went in to play Azog, and I based him on a white shark and James Earl Jones's version of Darth Vader with the voice. So he said, yeah, well, give it a go. So I was sitting here, and I remember the first time that I did it, I said, how big is that head? And he said, oh, it's like way out there. It's like a big head, And I remember the first time I did it, I went, go! And I was about this high, and I fell off the front of it. It was really not a good look. But I got back on my warg, because that's what you do as an actor, you get back on your warg. And I leaned in and I went, something like this. I look at the guys there. And it was this, that moment of doing this with this head that wasn't there, this wolf that wasn't there, this whole thing was actually probably one of my most favorite personal choices ever in acting. Because it changed this evil orc into something that had intimacy in his own life with his animal. And it just changed the tone of that scene as well. If you watch it, it's kind of like he just does this thing, and it's like he has life. He comes to life. He's not so. I don't know whether you can do it with Jaws. Jaws is sort of does this like. But just for me, for that one moment, it humanized Azog. Gave him something tangible in his life, so he wasn't just standing there the whole time going like, oh. And then one other thing that was to do with playing him like the shark. You want to come up here? I'll show you. I've worn out the lady who has to do the sign language. Sorry, man. I should have just slowed it down a little bit. Anyway, so you're going to play the orc in the very first scene that Azog appeared in, right? He was up in this castle, right? And it's one of the things that I thought about with Jaws, because in Jaws you don't really get a feeling of fear. You do, because you can't see it. And it's like you're going like, oh, where is it? So I always thought about my scenes with Azog, like I'd lurk, and I wanted to hide his face, because I knew the moment that you look into the shark's jaws, that should be the last moment, and that shouldn't happen until the end. So I sort of paced my scenes with Azog based upon that. And so, can I give him your microphone for a second, darling? Thank you. So, who saw the Hobbit movies? So the very first scene with Azog ever, right? We better come up this way, so they can see it as well, otherwise we'll get lost. So remember that little orc comes in and he's like this, and he goes, "Oh, master, oh, they got away." He makes this kind of, and so I said to Peter, instead of like being there, like, can I turn my back so you can't see Arzog? And he went, yeah. And I said, I just like Jaws, I kind of like want to come in, like, and when I turn around, can my wag be on the stairs so that I don't look up? So that I'm looking down like this and I pat the wag on the head, which is about probably $100,000 special effect. And Peter was like, yeah, we'll put the wag there, okay. And if you watch that scene, my white wag is lying on the stair, like I come down and pat. It wasn't there on the day, trust me, nothing's there. And there was a stunt guy playing this little orc. Actually, no, it was actually a stunt guy on his knees. So you got to go on your knees because this guy was really stunt. Okay, sort of face this way. Not that way. That way. Okay, so go back a little bit more too, otherwise we'll get stuck behind things. Okay, stop there. Okay, so you're going to go like, Azog, they got away. And I'm going to try to show you sort of like the technique I used to kind of mask the incoming ferocity of a beast that was going to do nasty things. Can I see?
Azog. They got away.
Bagushni. Muda. Kundeni. Kundena. And at that moment, it's good because you sort of got the audience going, I never realized, going, what is this guy? What's going on? And then I said to Peter, can I sort of pat him on the head like he's a child? So everyone's thinking like, no, guys, it's being nice to that guy's hair. Pat him on the forehead. And then I went, and I threw this guy, this child, or whatever the thing that people had bought into, through the air, and the wolves ripped into pieces. The wargs all jumped on him and ripped into pieces. Thank you, brother, for that. But it was kind of like this. It was choosing the shapes that could go with this character, choosing the character of this character, choosing the tone of this character, choosing how the character would appear and stuff like that. Because you're working in so much foreign stuff because nothing's there, and then you've got to try to build a character on top of it. So that was the most challenging thing about Arzog. But in the end, with all the mastery of those digital Weta guys and the digital stuff that they did, it was a super character, the result. Like, I'm going to go faster now. One word answers.
We can over on this side.
Sorry.
Hey Manu,
Hey, brother.
welcome back.
Thank you.
You were the first panel I've ever been to at a Comic-Con, ever. So, a long time ago when you were here in Phoenix. So thank you very much for coming back. I also want to thank you very much for the father figures you had these last couple of years with Arrow and Generic Chronicles and stuff like that too. Amazing. Also, speaking of Spartacus, thanks for punching Asher in the face on the island. That was the best part of that whole episode.
That wasn't me.
I was waiting for that.
That was a stunt double. What? I could only spend that whole episode. I could only be there for 2 days because I was shooting Shannara Chronicles. So they flew me there, and the only scenes that I'm in that episode is the ones where you see my face. The guy in the mask, including, because everyone walks up to me and says, "Man, that fight scene you had going through the factory, killing all those guys," and I said, "Yeah." And I walk away going, "That wasn't me, man." but yeah, all of that. So whoever punched him in the face, yeah.
I was going to say,
Thank you.
what was your favorite fight scene out of Shannara and Arrow for the last couple episodes you came back, and what was the favorite ones you did?
Oh, I really enjoyed teaching Al-Anon's daughter, you know, that scene when she was learning how to fight, and that was a different scene, because usually I'm used to standing opposite guys going like, you know, doing all that stuff, and just for a moment having somebody innocent with a sword in their hand. It took me back to the origins of Crixus, you know, like when I first arrived on Spartacus, I was a single vision gladiator, top dog, no measure given. But then I was allowed to go back in time and play Crixus when he first arrived, you know, as a virgin of the sands. You know, and I remember playing that scene when I came out, and I was like, you know, looking at all these people in the audience in this Colosseum in Rome, like where I came from. You know, I was a Gaul, like wherever I came from was a little tiny village somewhere, and here I was in this spaceship, you know, and then, you know, next when I turned around and out comes Octus, this giant, you know, parading gladiator who's got this big spear, and he's like, boom, and he looks at me, and I'm like, and I remember playing the scene and trying to be as realistic as I could, and I remember just looking at him going like, you know, and then they go, and fight. This guy runs towards me and I'm running. And I'm running around trying to get out of the way, you know, and then suddenly he comes in, he cuts me, and I'm like blood, and I'm like, you know, and then he comes in again, and I'm like, bang, 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 you know, trying to get out of the way, and then suddenly he comes through, he does this, the guy was from the Australian Ballet Company, this actor, right? So he jumps into the air and he does this leap, and he flies through the air like this. And I'm like, I've got the shield, and I go, whoa. And I stop it, and this, you know, this was CGI, but the spear goes through and almost into my eye. And I'm like, whoa. And then I'm like, oh, am I gonna die? And it's like, come out and have this fight and kick this guy against the wall, and the two of us come together, and we're like, ah! You know, and it was like, who got killed? You know, and then the camera, and that shot came out so beautifully. It came out, and there's me standing there with this long, crazy hair, like a rock video. And the sword's coming out of his back. And suddenly he goes, Badiatus or Barker towards you well. And he slides off the sword and dies. And then I remember letting out this primal scream, just going like, you know? And I walked off set and my whole head was buzzing and everything. And my producer walked up to me and he goes, we're gonna have to shoot that scene again, Manu, because you look like you were crying. And then he turned around, he ran up to his office, this that producer. And I chased him up to the office and I said, Rob, I closed the door and he was watching his ice hockey because he's from Texas and I don't know which ice hockey team he was watching, but he was watching ice hockey. And I said, listen, I put everything I possibly could into that fight. What are you talking about? Because let's have a man-to-man about it, because you know, like, obviously you want Clint Eastwood. And I'm not playing a two-dimensional Clint Eastwood in this character. I'm going to play the emotions of this character the way that I feel the emotions are true in this character. And he went, well, you know, your character's meant to be a champion, you know, he's meant to, you know, he's you know, we want a guy that can stand there and look like, and I said, well, for starters, at the end of that fight, I'm alone, right? Like, John Hannah, who was playing Badiatus, had to leave the set to go shoot something else, and I was standing there in the arena with no reference point. I said, can we do a scene where John Hannah's actually in the grandstand, and after this, because I swear to you it works, brother, I swear to you it works, and you'll see later on the way that I played Crixus, it'll tie in. I said, just allow me the moment then to look toward Badiatus and point my sword at him, because he wasn't there on the day, and this is what I would have done if he had been there. Let me point the sword at him and look at him like, you want a killer? Now you've got a killer. You know? And if you watch that scene in Spartacus, where, you know, that happens in some guards of the arena, where I look like that was shot 2 weeks later, that bit. Also, they built up the fight, because in the script it read that Crixus was running around in circles until the very end and grabbed this thing out of the dust, out of the ground, and just went like this and won the fight by pure luck. And I asked him, can we have more fun? Can we have the moment that his spear comes through and almost takes my eye? Can we include some more fight beats so that it looks like I struggle for my life? So I get up and actually fight for my life. Because the way that it was not shot with me doing any fighting. So how do you want a champion? You know, a champion has to be born. And if you want it born in that moment, I need these 2 moments. And so we then went through the fight again, and I got up and I kicked him against the wall, and there was all this, and the music was playing really beautifully, and the whole thing was edited really well. You see this rise of Crixus during the fight.
Yeah, you like that kick.
Then you see this, you know, and then this at the end. And that allows for the victory that my producer wanted. But as an actor, I'm so glad that I got to scream the way that I screamed in that shot. Because I tell you, if any man on the planet gets stuck in that situation, something's going to go through you more than just your everyday sense of a thrill or you know, a horrible revelation in your life. You know, it was just a choice, and I'm glad I did it. It was one of my proudest moments as well. The Wag and screaming Spartacus.
So you go brilliant rack on tour. You know this, right?
Rack on tour.
Oh, great. You give great panel.
I did.
Right?
Thank you, Dave. It's never been phrased quite like that, but maybe Domina, Lucy Lawless, maybe deliver that. You give great record to it.
That's excellent company to be in. Because you do have another obligation, we can take one more question.
Okay.
Okay? Actually, we have a lady waiting in line.
Oh, you can't deny Navia. Look at its name.
I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm gonna get really quick.
So the last time you were here, I was up here ready to ask a question and they stopped. And I wasn't able to ask the question, so here I am, and I can finally say something, so.
Would you like to ride my Wag?
Actually, no, I have this, really quick, you remind me of The Godfather with the cat. Like your Wag is your wolf. I just reminded of The Godfather walking with his cat.
Oh yeah. Exactly. And that's the choice Brando would have made. I've never even thought about that scene in comparison, but that's the perfect example, you know, to show there's compassion, you know, some normality in a character. Well, not normality, because normality is sometimes what it is, but yeah, that's the perfect reference, yeah.
Cool. Can I set a scene and we can play it out?
Sure.
Okay. So you're Crixus and you're out killing the Romans, and you come back to the encampment and you see me, Kelly, and you've missed me.
And I've removed my sublagaria. I'm sorry, this is kids. Spartacus was kind of just a little bit of a funky show, kids. The wrong reference. Yes?
And so what would you say to me?
With your cat ears?
Can I come up there?
Sure, yeah. Okay, so I've been fighting Romans?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm coming back to... And what's your name? And I'm coming back to Kelly's there. Okay, wait a minute. Can I have your microphone again for a second? Okay, first of all, I'm going to fight this woman right here. Okay, that's your sword. Ready? Jupiter's cock. I never got to say that line once in the whole series. So I just got to say it. And Kelly, shall we begin?
So you guys all know that he's gonna be here all weekend, right? And by the way, she did an interesting sign for Jupiter's cock. By the way.
And I'm sorry, kids. It's just the classic line from the show, and it's going to make your parents laugh, and that's a good thing. So you go to ask one little thing, just quickly. I'm going to answer real quickly. Okay, go.
It could be a rooster.
Can you call me Domina?
Yes, Domina. Okay, that's us.
That's us.
Okay, listen, thank you very much. It's always a big compliment to be, if any of us are appreciated for anything we do, it's a big compliment. So thank you for the compliment. Thank you.
He's gonna be heading back to the Hall of Heroes for signing.
Yeah, I have that
And
camera.
thanks everybody for coming out, and please give a warm thanks.
Thank you, Pepsi. Thanks,